You guys don't need to worry about me getting revenge from Diddy. I've got 3 moves that make sure he'll never be able to come after me or my family. First, I personally reached out to the victims' legal teams. The real reason he's not getting out is those buried cases behind the scenes. I provided legal funding for 7 victims who had been silent for years and brought in the top criminal attorneys in the country. Second, I bought up every potential post-release business deal he had lined up. I planned this 2 years in advance, so by the time he got sentenced and still had hope of getting out, every partner had already cut ties with him. Third, I don't just have evidence, I've got backups. This is an entire minefield that's been buried for 20 years. I uncovered every secret from the last 30 years. With testimonies from the victims, we interviewed over a dozen people he tricked, threatened, or violated. You think that's harsh? No, he destroyed other people's lives for decades. I'm just making sure he spends a few extra years in prison for it. I'm not afraid of his people, not afraid of his threats. I know he's still in there fantasizing.
Documentary. There's a couple things I'll share with you guys on what I took away from it. But Rob, maybe share the clip on how he got access to some of the footage of the documentary. Is this the one, Rob?
Yep.
Go for it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day.
Perhaps. Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
If Bishop Jakes was at a
TD Jakes responded by calmly addressing the issue with clarity and purpose, choosing his words carefully rather than reacting emotionally. He focused on explaining his position in a way that reflected his beliefs, while also setting the record straight for those who misunderstood the situation. Instead of escalating the controversy, he emphasized accountability, faith, and personal responsibility. His response aimed to close the discussion with dignity, leaving little room for further speculation or misinterpretation.
I do homeless shelters. I walk in prison ministries. I deal with murderers. I deal with rapists and killers because they're our children, our sons. And out of that came a love affair and all kinds of stuff.
In 50 Cent's latest documentary, the silence carries more weight than any direct accusation, quietly highlighting how figures like Diddy and TD Jakes once operated in entirely different worlds of music, faith, and influence that were rarely questioned together. As authority expands across multiple institutions, the truth doesn't disappear. It waits patiently for the right moment to emerge. What comes to light is not just a series of isolated events, but a broader system built on proximity, protection, and carefully maintained reputations. In the end, the deeper concern is not simply what happened, but how long comfort and quiet allowed it to continue unchecked.
Wrapped his arms around me and tried to kiss me. And in that moment, I literally died.
This was a shock to many in the religious community. Bishop T.D. Jakes has been a spiritual advisor to presidents and a religious voice to thousands.
Because, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has prepared us for his departure for many decades. And many people, if you wrongly idol worship someone, you could have a void.
Real life. It ain't real life. Just say. Real life street star. You know what time it is.
We just had a shake in not only the religious community, but our cultures community, to where Dallas, we have people like Kirk Franklin, Erykah Badu. You know of these names, and then you hear someone like Bishop Jakes, the Potter's House, that of course has risen Dallas to where you have these entities and these figures that, you know, when you say the name, you kind of already know what it is. And we just recently seen that Bishop Jakes had stepped down. Now, I want to have this conversation because I have my own theories, you know, no Diddy, but I have my own theories about why he would step down. But I do want to address the fact that he did step down. What is y'all take on it? And then also, where does it go from here? Dooney, if you don't mind, I can start with you because you actually have a personal relationship with Bishop Jakes. You've been calling him out for the past few years, damn near feel like a decade or so. You've been calling the man out, and now it seems like he didn't answer your phone call, and now he done stepped all the way down.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame him. I wouldn't answer the phone call.
This bitch don't start letting you ask me the question.
I know. I wouldn't answer your call. Come on, go ahead though.
Okay,
please.
Let me say this, man, to Bishop T.D. Jakes. You know what I'm saying? It was never any beef, anything like that. It was just some things that went on that I wanted to sit down and talk to you about that happened at the Mega Fest in Atlanta. And one of the ministers you had on staff, and because of where I came from, you know what I'm saying, it challenged my faith because of some things he did. So I just wanted to talk to you. I talked to Sean. Well, I didn't say no name, but your head security guard came to holler at me. And I sent the word out that I just wanted to speak with you. But your son came by. Shout out to my man, your son, you know, Jermaine, you know, he know what it is. And we talked and we discussed it. But I just wanted to say this to you, Bishop. You know, you have shown a lot of seeds in Dallas. Ever since you came down, I had the honor of cutting your hair, meeting your First Lady, Jakes, Mama Jakes, Sarah, Cora. You know, I just mentioned y'all named Jermaine, Jamar, you know, Lil Dex. It was an honor meeting you all. And
in 50 Cent's documentary, the sudden retreat of a highly influential pulpit leader shifts the focus to timing rather than explanation, as T.D. Jakes steps back after decades of carefully building authority through measured speech, expansive reach, and close connections to civic influence. In an era where public images can unravel almost instantly, such a move feels far more significant than a routine leadership change, especially when withdrawals often suggest preparation rather than rest. When this decision coincides with a separate and intensifying legal situation involving Diddy, public attention naturally begins to link events long before any official conclusions are reached. This convergence raises an uneasy question about whether the transition is driven purely by spiritual direction, strategic caution, or a deliberate balance of both.
Happy birthday is tomorrow! His wife's birthday is tomorrow! Happy birthday!
Oh, happy to have you back on the platform, man. It's been a while, man. I haven't had you on the platform in a long time, man.
Man, stop playing, man. I ain't never left, man. Shit. All I did was change clothes.
So I want to get right into it, man. How you feel about these rumors surrounding, you know, Diddy and T.D. Jakes?
Man, what I think about it is this, you know, when I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You had to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she. But maybe he'd have to lay some hands on somebody. Maybe he'd have to save some souls. I know he got a contract with Revolt, so I'm just like, it's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party or any kind of place with Diddy unless it's in a business atmosphere. So now what he's doing is he's making, man, he making the Christians look real bad right about now.
And you've been to these parties, right?
Oh yeah. I was there when he was doing the white parties in the Hamptons and the whole 9 yards. So I know what goes on at the parties. If, you know, they probably got a little bit more freakier, you know, as time went on, you know, cause they got to the point whereas that they didn't even care. It used to be secretly, you know, where people used to go to, you know, separate rooms and different rooms, and they wasn't doing that out in the public. You know, so, but now they don't care. Men kissing men and all this other that's just crazy.
So why do you think he was going to these parties?
I think that he's going to the Diddy parties, you know, bruh. If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that it's, I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or what we told us happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he needs to see it for himself, man. Maybe he needs to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties.
When a name appears in a civil filing, public opinion often races ahead of the legal system, forming conclusions long before facts are tested in court. In 50 Cent's documentary, the transcripts highlight a familiar pattern where a single mention inside a larger case is quickly treated as proof and proximity is confused with certainty. This effect becomes stronger when a figure like T.D. Jakes, widely viewed as a trusted advisor, connector, and steady influence, is drawn into questions of power and credibility. While the justice system is designed to separate allegation from truth, public perception rarely waits, forcing us to consider how fairness and due process can survive once early judgment becomes fixed belief.
You know that the saints supposed to separate themselves from the sinners, and why would a religious man like himself be at a party which ain't nothing but sin that's going on, bro? Whether it's drinking, maybe fornicating, maybe, like I said, men on men, women on women. It's hard to put in perspective unless he's involving himself what is actually going on at the parties. It's hard, brother. Bro, you know, you can't, I really don't know why, as a spiritual advisor to him, that they buddy while he got a party with him like that and be at his parties. It's got to be, maybe it's something more that meets the eye. You know, I don't know. You know, I've had, you know, I've talked to preachers and I've talked to reverends and priests, but they ain't never came to a party with me or nothing like that. So it's hard to figure that one out, bruh, without even saying, you know, what people might be thinking. But I heard that there's supposed to be some tapes or something that's coming out real soon. And I guess we'll all really know the truth if anything's on those tapes.
From your point of view, right, when you look at T.D. Jakes, your point of view, your opinion, do you take him serious as a pastor?
Do I take him serious? That's not my type of pastor. You know, you got to look at a person's household. And if your household is not in order, you understand, how you going to help somebody else get their house in order? You know, one of his sons got arrested, you know, some years ago in Dallas, you know, allegedly for being found in a park where a bunch of people that are homosexuals hang out and indulge in sexual activity. And I heard his two sons, which are not his biological sons, both of them are from that LGBT community. Now, how you gonna help me straighten out my house? And to me, your house ain't in order. I'm not saying that something is wrong with them being and choosing that lifestyle, but something is wrong with them choosing that lifestyle.
At the heart of 50 Cent's documentary is not one isolated incident or closed-door meeting, but the lasting protection that influence can quietly provide. The transcripts point toward a recurring pattern where moral authority reduces scrutiny, credibility moves in step with wealth, and strategic relationships slow accountability. This dynamic is shown to reach far beyond any single individual, reflecting a broader structure in which institutions often cushion those with power. It ultimately challenges us to question what responsibility truly means when reputation is shaped like a public campaign and trust itself becomes something that can be exchanged.
As Diddy coercing her to stay in this relationship, to continue doing these freak-offs, even though she has said she didn't want to, but how much of that did she share with Diddy? Did he know that he was coercing her into this? Because that's what the whole sex trafficking charge is going to come down to. So one of the text messages after a hotel night that they had together, remember, hotel nights is what Jane refers to it. Cassie called them freak-offs, but these are their parties with male escorts. So after this one, this was in August of 2022, she wrote to him, "That was so much fun, baby. My love for you is unconditional and for life." She's referring to that particular freak-off that they had. And she also talks about Paul. Paul is the guy that yesterday she said that their nickname for him was Shaq. She was Kobe and Diddy was Jordan, and they were the trifecta. So she is addressing the fact that she really enjoyed their encounters with Paul. But while Diddy's defense is trying to make it sound like, look, she was so into this. She loved having Paul. She asked for Paul. She wanted to clarify this. She said, if I had to do what I had to do, at least there was somebody who had a warm energy about them. So yes, she is saying positive things and had positive feelings about Paul, but she's saying, I'm only doing this because this is, at least I have an option here. She would prefer to not have the hotel nights at all, but she felt like these were the circumstances of the terms and conditions, as she put it yesterday, of this relationship. She said, if I see him, Diddy, there is a request for a hotel night. So I'm just adapting to my circumstances. I'm adapting to my environment. So yes, there were moments when I suggest or organize these things under the pressures of my lover. Yes. I think that's key thing there. She says, under the pressures of my lover. So she certainly feels pressured to do this. Does Diddy know that he's pressured?
When a personal account becomes part of the public record, its force often comes not from detailed claims, but from the unequal power surrounding it. In 50 Cent's documentary, the narrative follows a progression from emotional guidance and mentorship into closeness and validation, before that bond is said to shift into influence and control. The concern spreads quickly because it mirrors a broader pattern in which authority can turn vulnerability into compliance. This leaves communities grounded in spiritual trust unsettled, not only by allegations, but by the unsettling idea that trust itself may have been leveraged, prompting a serious question about how much doubt moral leadership can withstand before its foundation begins to weaken.
Founder and pastor T.D. Jakes of the Potter's House. His ex-son-in-law claims that T.D. Jakes abused him. Richard Brandon Coleman is the ex-husband of T.D. Jakes' daughter, Cora Jakes. An attorney representing Coleman says that Coleman now claims, along with other unnamed males, they claim to have credible allegations against the Potter's House founder, T.D. Jakes, of grooming, assault, sexting, and transporting them across state lines. Richard Brandon Coleman, 36 years old, also known by his stage name, Ski Ventura, is serving time in a Texas prison for aggravated assault of a child and indecency with a child. Cora Jakes announced her divorce from Coleman in January 2022, shortly before his crimes became public, after they'd been married for about 10 years, and they have 2 adopted children. The attorney representing Coleman made this latest claim in a filing in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania last Friday. That is part of an ongoing defamation lawsuit that Jakes launched against former pastor Dwayne Youngblood and 10 John Does in November 2024. So there's a lot of legal mess, lawsuit, drama going on.
When a former prosecutor outlines the point where personal allegations become matters of public duty, it marks a pivotal moment in 50 Cent's documentary, redirecting attention from online narratives to the formal standards that govern investigation, evidence, and accountability. The transcript captures a clear tension between two competing forces: the legal system, which advances slowly through verification and procedure, and public culture, which moves quickly in search of explanation and meaning. One relies on structure and restraint, while the other is driven by urgency and emotion. This contrast raises a challenging question about which timeline ultimately defines the enduring public image of figures like Diddy.
This is looking a little weird. I mean, if Bishop Jakes was at a Diddy party, there could only be two reasons: money or
Real life.
It ain't real life. Just say. Real life street star. You know what time it is.
Why do you think TD Jakes was at Puff Daddy's birthday party?
You know, do you remember when Bernie Mac played the minister in Friday?
Yes.
That's how I feel about TD Jakes. Like, that's how I see. Oh, Miss Parker, come to pray. But for him to be at a Diddy party, I don't know. Like, I feel the same way about that as I feel about when Tyler Perry came to his church and laid hands on him and he caught the Holy Spirit from Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is the bishop of what? Like, I've never, like, and I cut a check for $100 and I'm gonna lay my hands on your bishop. And he said, and then the bitch said, it's on the fucking internet. He's doing all of this, right? And then there's a woman on the dais screaming, push the baby out, birth that baby, push the. I'm like, are we a church? Or is this about to turn into like a whole nother scene, like a lost scene from Eyes Wide Shut? Like, this shit is looking a little weird. I mean, if Bishop Jakes was at a Diddy party, there could only be two reasons: money. That's all that happens at Diddy parties. Money and I hope it was for money.
Charitable contribution.
I hope it was for money, because arguing about who's going to put the strap on is that can be a very uncomfortable situation.
A central tension in 50 Cent's documentary reaches beyond individual character and instead targets systems of power, asking why spiritual leadership so often intersects with celebrity spaces that operate like marketplaces of influence. In these environments, access brings visibility, relevance, and unspoken rewards, while relationships between figures such as TD Jakes and Diddy create shared legitimacy that can blur accountability. Over time, closeness becomes a form of currency, and silence turns into the cost of maintaining position. This dynamic pushes us to confront a difficult question about who is truly being safeguarded when influence depends on staying near power and choosing not to speak.
I think it's going to be closer to 1. Prosecution is asking for 4. That's just not going to happen for a Mann Act violation. So if that's right, look, he wants to get the lowest he can get, and I think it's going to be between that 1 and 2 range. To get the 1, I think he's got to show the judge that he is taking his misdeeds seriously. Right. And by the way, we know that even when the judge said that he was not going to let him out on bail pending sentencing, one of the things he mentioned was his violence. We've seen his violence. So he knows that this is an issue for the judge.
And the defense conceded it.
Right. So that's something he definitely has to address. And that's what he's doing with this program.
I mean, Charles, he doesn't have to address it, but he is addressing it. And you know, this might help him with regards to his sentence. Maybe the judge might sentence him to lesser time because he's working on himself.
But Jamie, you know what the complication here is that he's been found not guilty on the charges that relate to drug use and domestic violence. That there was no conviction using force, fraud, or coercion in these three ways, and drugs. The Cassie video was off the table. The only thing he's been convicted of is taking a prostitute across state lines for the purpose of prostitution.
But can't the judge consider all of the testimony in the that was presented at the trial?
But the defense is going to say he was found not guilty on those things. So it's really kind of an interesting.
There's that, but there's another side of this. And Jamie, you've been working on this story for 5 days now to lock this down. But what was there was one key word, one of the sources you spoke to. You remember what that word was?
Yeah, redemption.
Yeah, because that's the other part of this.
Yeah.
That this is Diddy looking at my life after prison, because now that he knows he's not going to be locked away for decades, not going to be locked away for the rest of his life, he could.
When an attorney steps down and a law firm withdraws, 50 Cent's documentary presents these actions as standard professional procedure. Yet, in the public eye, especially in high-stakes cases connected to Diddy, such moves are read as subtle early warnings, signaling that alliances are quietly shifting. Distance and exposure are recalculated, revealing that these departures rarely indicate guilt, but instead highlight rising risk within the network. This pattern forces a deeper question. If power structures only adjust once threats become visible, how long was that danger quietly allowed to persist before anyone acted?